Welcome back, everybody. Class is in session. The Schwarting Report is back for the month of October in the year of 2025. I'm here to wrap up spooky season. And in the words of an old former colleague of mine, do or do not. There is no try. And I think that's pretty good advice for our friends over in the Beşiktaş district of Istanbul. Lots of trying, not very much doing in the month of October. But fear not, we're back here to review it all, to dish out the grades as we do. How are you folks doing? I hope you guys all had a lovely spooky season. Stay hydrated, as always. I don't know. I don't even know what to say. What is there to say these days? Other than let's just dig in, right? October was eventful, as months tend to be in our club's history, especially these days, and typically in a mostly negative way, as things are. But anyway, let's not dwell on it. Although that's really what this episode is all about, isn't it? We're all about dwelling on the month that is concluded. Let's do this though. So, an interesting month. We go into it on a high note, having defeated Kocaeli at the end of September. We have a big derby match against who else but our big rivals Galatasaray, and it ends 1-1, which would be fine on paper, except it's a dissatisfying draw, right? They're down a man for much of the match. Tammy Abraham gives us the lead in the 13th minute. We're the better side for it. They go down a man. We should very much come away from this thing with 3 points. Instead, İlkay Gündoğan salvages a point for them, which for them is like a victory, obviously, because, they didn't deserve anything, really. Although they were the better side, despite being down a man, which is the worst part of it all. So just not good. Not good all around. Terrible result. We go into that against Gençler at home. Gençler Birliği, who is not a particularly strong side, fresh from the league below. They are currently, at this point now, at the beginning of November, in 15th place, just above the relegation zone. And that's just on, goal differential. So, not a very strong side. I think we could all agree. We, once again, completely shit the bed. In this case, it's Cengiz Ünder who gets the scoring going with an assist from Rafa Silva. But then, of course, it's Jurasek with an own goal in the 79th minute. He shouldn't have come into this match. The defense had sort of settled. Ridvan, who had a terrible half, his first real start, I think, of the season, settled into this match, gets taken out at a weird time. Jurasek is brought in, gives the away goal up immediately, and then they grab the winner in the 81st minute, Franco Tongia. So terrible start to the month, obviously, at this point. But we salvage it a little bit, although we can discuss whether or not it felt like that. We won in Konya, 0-2. This was one of those matches where we were missing a lot of our new transfers because of this whole weird, you can only play the guys who were registered when the game was originally scheduled, one like Kayserispor was previously. And again, 3 points. So 2 out of 2 in those kind of weird results, weird, whatever you call those, scheduling scenarios. But it was Ndidi who scored the first goal in the 21st minute. Tammy Abraham scoring in the 73rd minute. I don't believe there were any assists. I know on Tammy's right, he stole it off of the guy and put it in the back of the net. Actually, Orkun assisted Ndidi, his one assist this month, his second assist of the season. Okay, fine, right? So we had a decent result against Galatasaray in that it's a point, right? Not in terms of how it planned out. A terrible result against Gensler. We shit-housed a result against Konya, but it's like, okay, it looks like we're kind of in position to get things back on track, you'd think. Of course, our last match of the month is against Kasim Pasha, our famous boogeyman. Cengiz Under again starts things off in the 5th minute. A lovely assist from Vaclav Cherny. I thought maybe it wasn't intentionally assist when I saw it live. Actually, when I first saw it, I thought it was definitely assist. And then I saw a replay and I thought it might not have been an assist. Maybe he was trying to shoot it. And in retrospect, having watched a few replays, I think it was intentionally an assist by Cherny. Tammy Abraham has a penalty saved in the 32nd minute of this match. And then, of course, in the 33rd minute, Claudio Vink scores the equalizer, assisted by Godfried Frimpong. And the match ends 1-1. The month ends with only 1 win, 2 draws, and a loss. Bad results, bad performances. It was a bad month, and as you could imagine, there will be some bad grades handed out. With that said, we don't just give out grades like that, right? Willy-nilly. We don't just start by giving out players' grades. We always start by taking the macro view and focusing in on the micro. So first what we want to do is give our grades to our coach and to our board, to Serdal Adala. But I don't like doing that, right? That's not my job. That's the job, of course, of Le Financier, our guy, URAL. Bit of a jet setter, this one. But he is going to call in, I believe, to weigh in. Let's see what we got here. There he is. There he is.
Hello, Mr. Schwarting. Are you ready for some exorcism? Hope you have prepared your salt, burning sage and holy water, because here it goes. Today we focus on October and how Serdar Adala's leadership at Beşiktaş is being tested, and this week might just be the most decisive of Serdar Adala's presidency so far. 2 major meetings, a shareholder meeting today at time of recording 31st of October and a general assembly on Sunday. Here's a quick breakdown of what you need to know for this month's grade. The shareholder meeting and general assembly. Today's shareholder meeting is centered on one big question: approval to take on additional debt of up to 60 million euros, pushing the club's borrowing ceiling further. Officially, the request is supposedly framed as necessary to keep Beşiktaş liquid through ongoing projects, particularly the Beşiktaş redevelopment and other real estate ventures. However, this was not communicated in advance. One thing is for sure, this additional debt exposes the club to further risk, especially given the existing liabilities. One important note though, the result is pre-decided, as Beşiktaş is the largest shareholder in the AŞ. So regardless of how much controversy this request creates, Adala knows he will not run into an issue here. The additional debt approval will give him the peace of mind if he's ever held accountable for accumulating too much debt, because, well, the shareholders approved it. And then comes Sunday's General Assembly. Again, another charged meeting after the last one. Members will debate the audit report, review Adala's governance, and most importantly, vote on whether to grant discharge to both the current and previous boards. That discharge vote matters immensely, because if Adala is not discharged, he'll be legally required to call for elections. It's a test of confidence, but also of credibility. Outside the assembly, the istifa voices seem to swell. Also, the timing of the meeting is delicate, planned on the day of the derby against Fenerbahce, as well as the Marathon of Istanbul, causing uproar among assembly members about accessibility to the venue, as well as time to go through the agenda in time for the game. It almost seems that someone doesn't want too much attendance for these important votes. Almost. What is also almost a coincidence, news about the Beşiktaş project, something the audit report completely omits to mention. But hold and behold, here is some news on it. Vice Chairman Murat Kılıç recently made public remarks on the club's landmark Beşiktaş project. He stated that Beşiktaş will no longer proceed with Ziraat Bankası on that project. Apparently, Ziraat Bankası wanted too big of a piece of the pie, so the club needs to find a new financier for this part, as the club intends to conduct the project via competitive tender itself. The club will step in as a financier of the project and have Toki build it, which is also a change of the original plan. Not sure what the tender will be then. Together with the Ministry of Youth and Sports, the club estimates a $100 million cost for the project, including dorms, as an exchange for the additional 4,000 square meters plot of land to be added to the project, and expected revenue to begin flowing by March 26. Additional revenue streams, converting the club's plaza into residences, expecting around $50 million. These are now unused offices, and selling 90% of the club's shares, estimating between $40 and $50 million depending on the stock market. On the club's financial liabilities, tax and bank debts are set to amount to approximately $120 million, which the club plans to clear by end of 2026 with the revenue of Beşiktaş. Adal and colleagues maintain that the notion of Beşiktaş being in economic freefall is misleading. Hope it is, of course, but it is also a bold statement, considering the transition to tendering, project financing cost, share sales, and conversion of assets. All of it places tremendous expectation and execution, which, as we all know, Adal failed on over and over until now. If these numbers don't materialize, the club's finances will feel even more pain. Meanwhile, the Paşamandra project has quietly been cancelled, one of several initiatives that disappeared without official communication. Then there's the audit report, the document that should tell shareholders and members where the money went and how the board is performing. But the rollout raised serious concerns. Adal's board reportedly shared the necessary information only one day in advance to the audit committee, while the information of the previous administration under Hasan Arat was provided by Adal's board 10 days ahead of the audit deadline. The report itself heavily scrutinizes Arat's term, but contained very little on Adal's own promises and performance. No serious breakdown of the Arroyo or Elan transfer deals, no update on the Beşiktaş app, and no overview of which projects are actually progressing. So what are we really auditing here? Past rivals or the current reality? The audit report is quite lengthy and deserves a proper breakdown for those interested, but we're not going to do that here. Then the Adal interview. What can I say? I think most of us seen the quotes. He's flip-flopping again on many subjects and confirms that the scouting organization or transfer committee is uprooted again. Is this the start of a multi-headed transfer scouting department like we saw under the previous board? This also explains why Sergen was able to speak so freely about the scouts, players and transfers. There's no pushback from Adal and he seems to concur with this new approach, completely contradictory to his original plan. What does this mean for Adal's leadership? On one hand, Adal is embracing large-scale restructuring, real estate, asset conversion, debt refinance that aligns with his previous rhetoric of building the club's financial independence. On the other hand, the timing, scale and the transparency remain questions. Asking shareholders to approve more debt at the same time as reviewing the audit and the board discharge suggests a club under pressure. The Beşiktaş timeline is tight. Revenue beginning in March means very little margin for slippage if March rolls around and funds aren't flowing as promised. The credibility impact could be serious. Think of the transfer periods and the plan Sergen has for the winter transfer period, for instance. Governance matters. The fact that the General Assembly is reviewing past board action means Adal inherits a legacy of oversight issues. Adal seems preoccupied with the previous board instead of focusing on his own failures and lack of success, which in my opinion is mind-blowing and very frustrating. Focus on what really helps the club instead of settling personal vendettas. Adal took the necessary steps to address the previous board, so leave it to the prosecutors instead of regurgitating how bad the previous board was. We know it now. Previous board bad, but Adal good? The performance until now doesn't confirm this. The financial report doesn't show a happy message. No change for the better, only more and more debt is accumulated, without tangible and even feasible new sources of revenue. I won't bore you with the financial report details. We can dive into that another time if you want. My closing thought. October isn't just another month. It's a referendum on trust, transparency and truth. 2 meetings, 1 audit and 100 questions about who's really steering Beşiktaş. If the General Assembly votes no on discharge, Adal's administration may be forced back to the ballot box before Christmas. If he scrapes through, he'll still face fans, auditors, challenging projects, financial stress, and a restless head coach sailing his own course. One thing is certain, this week has the potential to shape the future of the club, so keep an eye on Sunday. And you know who to call when you see something strange, right? Peace out and stay puffed.
Wow. As usual, we got the good stuff. As you hear, we got the flashback to see what our grades were last month. And to give me a moment to collect myself. Once again, shouts to URAL, Le Financier. The thorough breakdown as usual. And yeah, man, last week it was a D-, which was like in part inactivity, in part ineptitude on the part of Adalet. Sergen had a B- because I think he had 3 wins and a draw. Some mistakes were made, but you know, the results were the results. If you might want to take a look there quickly and pause, you can see where the players shook out last month. But so yeah, enough of the past. Let's dig into this. Having heard what we heard from URAL, this month's grades are, I should put like a drum roll here. Boom, bad, as you can tell. And let's start with the top, of course. I get an F+ to Adalet. Everything that URAL said was, I think, 100% accurate. Selling out Graf in favor of Sergen with this whole scouting business is just unprofessional, because it undoes any notion that he's building out the club from the professional side, you know, from the inside out. It really feels like he's just handed the reins over to Sergen, and he's letting him sink with the ship, or whatever that looks like. Yeah, I mean, Sergen had a bad month. I gave him a D-. Obviously, 1 win, 2 draws, and a loss is nothing to write home about. But also, he made a few mistakes tactically. I don't like what he's doing with the left wing at all. I mean, really, I don't like what he's doing with either wing, if I'm going to be 100% honest. I do like that he switched Mert out, so that gave him a saving grace. He didn't fail the month, despite some middling performances. And I mean, it wasn't even the results as much as how he looked, right? Like, the 1 win against Konya was probably the worst performance of all. But anyway, you can look here. The performances individually were not good either. Cengiz and Tammy Abraham, 2 goals each. Ndidi 1. Orkun, Rafa, and Cherny each had an assist. Numbers-wise, Cengiz had the best month. Rafa had a good month. Orkun, an okay month. Gökhan, the Sazdai, had a pretty good month. Emirhan Topçu, a pretty good month statistically, especially considering that these advanced stats from Fatma are typically not very friendly to defenders. You can see Jallo getting hit up there. And I think most would agree he had a pretty good month. You can see my grades to the right don't correspond with those numbers at all this month. I think this month is a good example of how advanced stats are not very accurate at times. Here the New York is New Yorking, late night New Yorking. But yeah, I mean, you can look at these grades. Obviously, we're going to dig into individual performances far more than this. The teacher's pet, obviously, Emirhan Topçu, a repeat customer as far as teacher's pet. He had a fantastic month. Again, I'll dig into that as we look at individual performances, but I think most would agree he had a standout month. The class con was, of course, Serdal Adalet for every reason that Le Financier highlighted. Everyone's on the Istifa train lately. Khan is very vociferously so. As much as I've said that we don't need chaos and, you know, we need to just give stability a go, it's hard to defend this lot, man. They just do everything wrong. Firing Ole is the mistake that just keeps on mistaking, because we all just have to keep wondering what could have been at this point, given how poorly it's gone since. And yeah, that's completely on Adalet. Now, as for Saved by the Bell, yes, that's right, fancy sounds and all, SFX. I'm giving it to Cengiz and Ersin this month. Why, do you ask? Well, because through the course of this month, both of them salvaged not just this season, and not just potentially starting roles within the club this season, but maybe their careers in a funny way. Both of them, you know, for Cengiz to have slipped up and basically gotten cut from Fener for all intents and purposes, coming to us, right? The next step, if he failed with us, would be an Anadolu side, something like that, right? So he, by asserting himself and proving he can still cut the mustard, even if he doesn't, like if it doesn't pan out for the rest of the season or whatever, I mean, I think he's done enough that he'll get a few bites at the apple wherever, whatever he decides to do. And I think it's very likely that we sign him and keep him for the relative long term. Forget what else I was going to say. But yeah, oh yeah, Ersin. Ersin also barely had an opportunity to really even grab a place in the rotation, I think. Mert had a terrible month to start out with. Key error against Galatasaray, terrible outing against Gençler. And so there it was, this little crack for Ersin to jump through, and he just dove through, smashed through the glass. He had a great match against Konya, and a pretty good match against Kasim Pasha. You know, a couple silly mistakes here and there, but for the most part, another solid outing for Ersin, and I think enough so that we're all thinking, yeah, like he's young enough, with enough theoretical upside, even if it's not upside, even if he is what he is, it's better than what Merritt's been giving us lately. Merritt, that it's like this roller coaster where, I mean, you know what he does well, and he actually does do that consistently well, even when things aren't going especially well for him. But what he does on a bad day, giving the ball away, bad passing especially, is so bad for the team. And it's just so not his level of professionalism for the most part either. You just hate to see it, but anyway, I think Ersin's taken that place for now. Anyway, let's look at individual performances. Again, pause if you want to see the advanced stats. These numbers here, those aren't my numbers. I give grades to the right. I don't know. It was a bad month, as you can see by those numbers. Last month, as you may or may not recall, Rafa Silva was coming off a fantastic month of September. Orkun sort of steadily in that top three. Jurasek had finally, it seemed like, settled in, had a really good September, looked like he was ready to kind of ride things out. Yeah, it was a terrible month of October for him. Mert had it was a fall off, but he was just a consistent performer in a month where a lot of guys were in and out of the rotation. He played all of September. And yeah, I mean, just a quick recap. Again, pause if you want to see where things ended up. Cengiz was sort of steady, middle of the pack, not even top 11. Defensively, right, Emirhan Topçu, Jallo, right, Urukai was still in the top 10 at that point. Demir Ege Tiknaz was coming off a really good September. He would get injured. We would not see him in October, you know, heads up on that. But so let's talk about what happened in October. And of course, the worst month of October has to go to Mert Günok, who, yeah, he had a historically bad month in the Schwarting Report standards. 2 poor performances, including a key mistake in a derby, right, the Galatasaray pass to Ndidi, followed by a benching. He ended up missing out on half of the month's matches, which is a Schwarting Report death now, right? He doesn't accrue points, and he gets negative points for bad performances. So, yeah, just a terrible month for Mert. I don't know if this is the end of his tenure with Beşiktaş or even his career, honestly, given his age. If it is, he's had a pretty good career all in all. I wouldn't hold my breath as far as Ersin keeping that spot. I would say Mert has every chance of getting it back at some point this season. Excuse me, there's a little gnat or something. Oh, I got it. Number 23, Devrim Şahin. Again, I mean, the bottom of this list is fairly tragic, if we're going to be honest. Devrim Şahin was done no favors by his coach, who subbed on Mustafa the week prior to starting Devrim at left wing. He played in the Konya match where he kind of got shoehorned in because of the whole player registration issue. But against... Who did we play before Konya? Against Gençler, Sergen brought Mustafa in for a big chunk of the second half, which you'd think would mean he would be starting Mustafa against... excuse me, started to fiddle with my hair so much. But yeah, you'd think that by bringing in Mustafa in that match, he'd be starting Mustafa against Konya. That's what he's warming him up for. That was apparently not the case. Perhaps Mustafa didn't play very well in that sort of stint against Gençler, which is why he didn't start him against Konya. I mean, I'm sure there's some logic at work there, but yeah, Devrim came in really cold. I mean, not played in ages, right? He'd only previously played in the Kayseri match, and being so cold showed. I don't think many people noted it. There wasn't much talk of Devrim Şahin, but he played really poorly, which is unfortunate. And it was in a win, the only win of the month. Again, it was one of our worst performances, if not our worst performance of the month too, which, yeah, just a weird month in general. Number 22, Mustafa Hekimoğlu. Mustafa has unfortunately not hit the ground running post-injury, nor has he recaptured the form Ole was getting out of him late last season. 3 poor bench performances this month did him no favors regarding these power rankings. Yeah. Mustafa went from a player who we had a ton of hope for, right after the Super Cup victory at the beginning of last season, to no hope for after he made a ton of appearances that were unimpressive, to say the least. To, again, us maybe thinking, okay, maybe there's something there, right? Ole seemed to have basically got him back on track for a while at the end of last season. And then, yeah, now we're back to, I don't know what the point of him playing at all is. He's not helping things for himself or for Beşiktaş, which is more important in this, for us here. Anyway, moving on. Number 21, Kartal Kayra Yilmaz. Kartal's here through no merit of his own. He only had one brief cameo in the derby against Galatasaray, and he hasn't featured since. The others merit low grades because they played poorly. The others meaning Mustafa, Devrim, and Mert. He is the first low-volume entry. Give the Eagles some minutes. Low-volume entry meaning he didn't play enough, I would say. I don't get it. I don't know why he's not playing. I don't know why Kartal Kayra Yilmaz isn't playing. I don't know. I don't get it why. I'm starting to not understand a lot of what Sergen is doing. Next up, number 20, Jonas Svensson. Jonas is another player whose poor form in October was a product of Sergen's sporadic player rotation. He was poor against Gençler, better in Konya, and all in all, I'm still not convinced he isn't our best right back. Obviously, the Sazdai is overhated by me, especially in the group chat, probably. His performances didn't merit it. He had a pretty bad first half in the last match, I think, but he actually got it together in the second half, so maybe it was the other way around. Either way, when I first watched him, I thought he wasn't good, and yeah, his output is never as bad as it really seems, but I don't know. Svensson still puts in a good performance here and there. He was pretty solid against Konya. I had him ranked as as our 11th best player. So not that solid, but he was worse against Gensler, I believe. So there's that. Moving on up, number 19, Thailand Bulut. Thailand was an example of a guy who overcame Sergen's deleterious rotation strategy to come out and play a decent match against Konya, only to hit the bench for 90 minutes again as a reward. Play the kid more! So to clarify, he didn't play at all under Sergen and didn't even feature on the bench until the match against Konya where he played. I had him rated as our 10th best player in that match, slightly better than Jonas Svensson. And then, yeah, he didn't. He was at least, I think, on the bench against Kasim Pasha, but didn't play at all. This says that I held that spot down the entire 90 minutes against Kasim Pasha. Whatever. Next up on the list is Felix Udokai, who had a good outing against Galatasaray. He's our first kind of good outing of the bunch here. Thailand was mediocre, I thought, by the way, against Konya. Not really much to write home about, but, certainly enough to say he just shouldn't be completely like Kadir Odishi. Whatever the hell Sergen is doing, I don't understand. Just completely icing guys and then tossing them out in for consequential minutes and then putting them back on the... I mean, he's mysterious. Anyway, number 18, Felix, had a good, steady performance off the bench in the derby against Galatasaray, and as is the case with many others, has been otherwise iced on the bench. In Sergen's defense, in this case, Emirhan has fairly earned that starting left central defender spot. I think we can all agree. Nobody's really clamoring for more Felix. I have always been a fan of Felix. I think he was overhated for a time. But I think, even I would not argue that Emirhan hasn't earned that starting role. He's been fantastic. We'll get into that. We'll get into that for sure. Next up, Salih Uchan. Salih came on against Konyaspor and had an underspoken but actually very effective performance off the bench. The problem is his good performances are so few and far between that you sense this wasn't much to build on. I didn't even really mention it on the podcast after the Konyaspor match. I think the other guys don't rate him very highly. And it's not like he played well enough for me to fight for him. But I thought we got our first good Salih bench performance in a while in that match on second viewing, on detailed analysis. I mean, whatever. It's still not that good. I had him as our 7th best player in that match, but that's pretty good for a guy who came in for just a bench performance. And so now you're starting to see in these standings guys who only had one appearance, and how well they played. It's going up. Right, Udokai had a good performance off the bench against Galatasaray, steadying things on the back line. Salih had a good performance, an even better performance, you could say, in his brief cameo against Konya. And then we're moving on up into more substantive things. Gabriel Paulista actually had a start, for example, right, which was a little surprising. Paulista was maybe a surprise start against Konya, but he played well in a match in which our defense was really all we have going for us, or all we had going for us, rather. One might have expected Felix to play, given form and the fact that he and Emirhan have historically paired well. But it worked out. Gabriel Paulista was really solid in that match. Again, it was the Konyaspor match. I had him as our 6th best player. And so it just so happens that each of these guys, as they're rated higher in that match, gets one higher place in the power rankings. It's no coincidence, I suppose. Next up, maybe controversial, David Judasek. But I will say this. Some would argue he should be even lower. For me, him even being this low makes my soul /heart/brain /extremities hurt. In the match at home against Gensler, he was hung out to dry. I already mentioned he shouldn't have even been brought into that one. Came in, gave the own goal. And then it wasn't bad. He tried to create. He was one of the only guys really creating chances as we tried to snatch that result back. And he didn't. The game winner wasn't on him. So, tough break for Udacek. He was solid against Galatasaray. He started that match. Play more, please. I don't understand what we're doing. We'll talk later about why that might be important as well, for him to not just be iced as Sergen is doing. He's got to do better with squad rotation, man. Jesus. Next up, number 14, Jota Silva. The Jota situation. Again, a mystery wrapped in an enigma, wrapped in whatever. You get the drift. He keeps coming on, puts in all the effort you would hope the guys who got minutes would have put in, and he never gets playing time as a result. He's never rewarded with more playing time. It seems like he's getting less and less and less. I mean, again, now we're getting into guys who at least played more than once. But it's not like Jota's really had much of a chance to shine. And yet he kind of has, in a funny way. Anyway, next up is Vaclav Černý. And some will say he's rated very low, especially considering he actually played quite a bit this month. But he's a right winger. He played once and he was bad as a left winger. He played once as a 10. He was okay. Got an assist in that one. Probably his best performance of the month. But look, the man was already needing time to settle in with the club and has gotten almost no time in his natural position. Cengiz has earned minutes, but he can't play 90. So, I mean, look. Here's what's happening, and we haven't obviously seen Cengiz yet. We haven't yet talked about the left wing situation. Albilal Toure hasn't come up yet, but Jota has. And what we're doing now, which is really terrible, which Sergen is doing, is that he's playing Černý somewhere, right? He's playing Cengiz as our starting right winger. He's playing Albilal Toure as a left winger, and he's playing Tammy. And so, if you take out Tammy and Albilal Toure, we don't have a striker, and you kind of need to, because Albilal Toure is running his ass off when he's playing as a winger. And Tammy, right, given his injury history, the fact that he's actually maybe dislocated his shoulder and played through it, all of it is to say you're setting yourself for failure. You're setting yourself up for failure, Sergen, by starting the guys that you are and rotating players the way you are. I think the obvious solution is to play Černý as your starting right winger, bring in Cengiz as your kind of first guy off the bench at the half or in the 50th, 60th minute, right? Give him some time to cook for sure. But he's yet to play 90, Cengiz. He can't. He's asking to come off at around the 60th minute every time already. So, I mean, he seems perfectly suited as your super sub. Jota has to play on the left side so that you have Albilal Toure to come in for Tammy, who also needs to come off. And he should come off, even if he wasn't recovering from an injury. We have to be careful with his, injury history. So it makes perfect sense to put Cengiz on late in the match and take Tammy off late in the match. So we need, he's got to do that better. That's a problem. Anyway, on to bigger and better things. Now we're getting into the starting 11. Gökhan Sazdai is just outside of it. That's okay. He didn't play in every match this month. He couldn't play against Konya, for example. The Sazdai giveth, and the Sazdai taketh away. 3 matches for him. Good and bad. Mostly mediocre. Not too bad, not too good. He's, he might be a slight improvement over Svensson as far as like a slightly steadier right back. It's hard to really say. The verdict's not out on the Sazdai experience quite yet. And here we are into the top 11. And Albilal Toure is in it, even though I'm arguing he shouldn't be, at least not formation-wise. I mean, unless you start him as a striker, but whatever. I don't think he should be. I think he's a guy you bring on in that first wave of subs with Cengiz Ünder. The talent and athleticism are obvious, and there can be no doubt that the kid needs regular playing time. But hear me out. Twice this month, he was subbed off along with Tammy. Twice this month. And this squad is not constructed for that. And the reason I say that is because both of those times we had to see Mustafa Hekimoğlu and Milot Rashica playing opposite each other, which You know, those are the wingers that Ole was forced to play with when we didn't have any wingers. They should never be on the pitch together, say again. You freaking moron. Like, cut that shit out, please. Alright. Top 10. Here we go. Milot Rashica. This will surprise many. Everyone knows I'm a notorious Milot hater. But look, A, he actually got a lot of playing time this month. B, he wasn't bad. He actually kind of created a number of chances. He came back and defended well. I mean, he wasn't really very good either. But yeah, you know, top 10 worthy, I suppose you could say. He played against Galatasaray, third worst player, but he didn't, not in the red. He was just, you know, he was a sub, so that's gonna happen. Against Gençler, he was our 9th best player. We had a bunch of guys in the red. He was not among them. Again, off the bench though, so he didn't get much of a chance to, you know, what's the opposite of impress? You get what I'm saying. And next we've got Konya. Milot was, again, 9th best player, right? Just very middling stuff. And he also played against Kasımpaşa, so he played in every match this month. Second worst. Again, very small performance though, so it's not like it's because he wasn't good, it's just because he had very small chance to make an impact. But yeah, he was fine. He played a lot. That's going to kind of get you there, especially in a month where other guys played less consistently, right? Al Bilal couldn't play against Konya. Or, in fact, he couldn't play against Gençler because of his injury, I think. Cards? Injury? I don't remember what that was. Doesn't matter. Number 9, Ridvan Yilmaz, who's a guy who replaced Jurasek after the Galatasaray match as the starter. Held the spot. He hasn't been bad, all in all, nor has he been especially good. He usually starts slow and builds into matches. As such, he's been fine. We know his injury history, however, so it would be advisable to at least rotate things more, right? Jurasek should not be iced. I know there's talk of us getting rid of him in January. I think that would be stupid. Again, he was our 3rd best player last month, according to my rankings. You know, Ridvan, I think he had his best performance this month against Kasımpaşa, so he is growing into this role, as you would expect. Like, I think he lacked for consistent playing time because of injuries mostly, but at Rangers, I mean. So it's going to take him some time to resettle and kind of get comfortable again as a regular. But, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's definitely worth having another guy comfortable playing as a left back if you're relying on Ridvan, because that could change at any moment. And here we go. Top 8. Number 8, Rafa Silva. He started the month with a bang, playing well in the Galatasaray Derby. He carried his good form from last month into the fall, it looked like. And then a poor outing against Gençler revealed an injury that kept him out for the rest of spooky season. It's interesting. I thought he had a poor performance against Gençler. I say, although I rated him number 1. I rated him as our best player, and he statistically was rated very highly as well. But, you know, the going story was that he was a big part of why we lost that match. He didn't create enough. At least, you know, Sergen famously kind of scapegoated him. And then there was all this talk of, like, he was injured, but there's talk of him maybe not being liked by Sergen and him being persona non grata, maybe on his way out, which has potentially, theoretically, already been deaded since. So, I mean, look, hopefully he'll play tomorrow, or today, rather, later today, against Fener. And that'll all be put to bed, but say again. Cut it out. Rafa Silva is our best player. He's a generational player for Beşiktaş. I think if you ask anyone who's come, you know, who's fallen for our club in the last few years, they'll tell you he's like their guy, which would make sense because he's been the guy for our club in these last 2 seasons. So, yeah. Let's not be silly. 7th best month of October goes to Ersin Destanoğlu. Ersin has seized this opportunity that Mert's poor form has provided. He was among Beşiktaş's best performers in the match against Konya, and then he played well in key moments against Kasımpaşa. Long may it continue. I've always said that he was a great young keeper in a championship-winning season under Sergen. I mean, this goes as a feather in Sergen's cap, I would say, if he could restore Ersin's form and get us at least playing a slightly younger keeper regularly, that we could, at least have some resale on. Theoretically, Ersin's young enough to be sold for a pretty penny, relatively speaking. But yeah, another good season after that championship season, proof that he still got it. Yeah, I don't see why not. Especially, when a club is desperate for a keeper and they strike out once or twice. We saw it happen to a lot of bigger teams this summer. They start getting desperate and doing weird things. There were even teams linked to Ersin this summer that shouldn't have been. So, definitely I think after a good season, who knows? Number 6, Cengiz Ünder. Some would expect him to be higher. Worth noting, he did not start in every match this month, which is a big part of why he isn't. He did score twice in 2 separate matches in his 3 starts. Cengiz is the one thing Sergen has clearly gotten right in one sense, but it could easily be argued he's still not being utilized properly. His fitness is still very much lacking. It would make sense to bring him on as a sub, a super sub, you could call him. Yeah, he's your 6th man, as Cartel was saying the other day, or your 12th man. He should be your first sub for sure. He should play every match, especially given the form he's in, but there's no reason to start him given he can't play 90 minutes. You know you're not going to get that out of him, and the variability he provides. Given the fact that you feel like you can play everybody else wherever you want to play them, you slot him in and you move other guys around as you need to. Anyway, number 5, Thiago Jallo, a guy who found a small window open up for a starting position at the beginning of the year, jumped in and has made himself comfortable there ever since. He has become one of Beşiktaş's steadiest performers. Quickly, let's see. He was the 3rd best player against Galatasaray, according to me. 2nd best player against Gençler. Obviously, he did not play against Konya. Still ends up 5th, so that's solid. And then against Kasımpaşa, I had him as our 8th best player. So, that's a really solid month for Thiago Jallo. He has certainly, I think, ironed down that right central back slot. And our back line is set. And if you don't believe me, check out the top 4. Number 4, this is controversial. Him, especially maybe being there over Cengiz. But again, Cengiz only got 3 matches. Tammy obviously played in every match this month, scored twice. He was 5th last month after having only scored once. I think he had 1 goal and 1 assist. So it sort of makes sense he'd get a bump up. Obviously, look, Tammy scored twice, including a derby goal. And yet we all know that this was kind of a weak month for him. That he had the month he did and is still here doesn't bode well for the club. You like to see him fighting through that injury though, right? I think most of us thought he was going to be out for maybe even extended time. Instead, we got a full month out of him. And it looks like he's recovered from it, like playing through it. So, 2 goals in 4 matches. That in and of itself isn't terrible. It could have been 3 goals, right? There was 1 that was disallowed, questionably. And then offsides right after that. He almost had a hat trick in that Konya match, actually. I don't know. I think most people who don't have some sort of agenda or aren't in a very dark place can agree that Tammy has fit the ethos of the team, if not the playing style, or if he hasn't hit the ground running. We could all agree on that as well. We might have wanted to see slightly more, but Khan has already kind of written him off as like a guy that we're just trying to maybe recoup resale value on. I am not there yet. I don't know that he can't succeed once we can settle on whoever our wingers are, and if they can give him regular delivery from the wing. I feel like he's pretty good aerially, so I don't know. Anyway, number 3, Orkun. He had a good month, one that he's probably disappointed with. 1 assist, his 2nd of the season, and a middling month results-wise for the club would make him disappointed. Also, like, look, it was like he's third because he was good, not great, and nobody else really seized the mantle where they probably should have. Normally, he'd probably be like a top 5 type guy this month rather than the top 3, but just, yeah, not a good month for the club in general. So that was enough to get in the top 3 this month. And we have to raise the question now: are we wasting him? We won't always have players of this caliber, that's for sure. I mean, he's starting to hold his head, drop his head a little bit. He and Tammy, like you don't like to see the way that they're reacting to how poorly we're playing. I think we can all agree. Next up, Wilfred Ndidi. A full month of Ndidi was as good as we could have hoped. He stayed healthy, became that key cog in the back of the midfield we'd hoped he would, and looks like captain material. A bad derby mistake marred a great month. Obviously, he played a role in the one mistake that cost us the 3 points against Galatasaray. But besides that, he was just fantastic. And even with that, so against Galatasaray, I had him as our 12th best player, right? Which was his worst outing of the month for sure. But then against Gençlerbirliği, I had him as our 4th best player. Against Konya, I had him as our 4th best player in the green. And against Kasımpaşa, I had him as our best player in the green, the only player in the green against Kasımpaşa. So, yeah, I don't know, not bad. Not bad at all. Like now he had the type of month that like actually merits a second place. And another guy who had a great month, which merits a top 2 spot, is the guy who is number 1 this month. Emirhan, my dude, welcome to the top of the mountain. Now the challenge is to stay there, and of course he's probably not going to remain our best player this month, this season. He's not going to be a regular number 1. You'd hope. Right, you want guys to be scoring so many goals that they have to be taking those spots, grabbing so many assists, creating so many chances, being so fluent in attack. That's what we're all hoping for. But we came into this season confident that we had a keeper in Felix Urukai, and after this guy's month of October, Felix has somehow become our most expendable player. In part because he's, young enough to actually get us some money back. So, like Paulista would be more expendable, I think we'd all agree. But the question is, do you get anything for him? That said, I wouldn't mind keeping Felix and selling Paulista, given that Felix can play on the right side next to Emirhan pretty well. But, yeah, I mean, Emirhan Topçu, what a month. I've been tooting his horn all season, and he couldn't really raise very high in the power rankings because he wasn't playing regularly enough to really accrue numbers. But now that he's getting that playing time, he's just shooting right up, no doubt. And we'll talk about that in a moment as far as shooting right up. We'll look at the seasonal power rankings, but once again, just to look at the month of October, Emirhan Topçu number 1, Ndidi, Orkun, Tammy, and Thiago Jallo round out the top 5. Cengiz, Ersin, Rafa, Ridvan, and Milot Rashica round out the top 10. Yeah, take a look, pause. Again, if you're a Patreon subscriber, you'll get all all of these sheets. So you probably didn't listen to me if you're a Patreon subscriber. You just got the numbers and bounced. But for those of you listening to me, especially for you guys a week late, the freeloaders, yeah, you can pause, take a look at the month. Let's review quickly the seasonal power rankings before we look at how they were impacted. So last month, we ended with Orkun on top, Rafa in second. They were really neck and neck, fighting that out. Tammy in a close third, actually. João Mario dropping steadily. He had been first after the first month of competitive play. Jurasek bumped up into 5th. He was on the ascendancy. Mert Gunak also on the ascendancy, moving into 6th. Paulista and Emirhan going down as they were competing for playing time, hurting each other's ability to accrue numbers. But yeah, let's see how things shook out after this month's power rankings, which we've just gone over. Dun, dun, dun, dun. Orkun, still number 1. Tammy is now number 2, because Rafa had a rough month of October, only playing twice. Emirhan, number 4. That's a big bump for him, for sure. Ndidi into the top 5. You love to see that. He took a big jump, actually, from 10th to 5th. Jurasek down from 5th. Paulista stayed in 7th. João Mario further down from 4th to 8th. Mert Gunnar, big bump from 6th to 10th. He had a terrible month, as we have already spoken about. But yeah, again, check it out. Jallo, big bump from 16th up into 14th. Cengiz from 20th into 16th. So yeah, some guys are moving up, and they'll probably continue to move up steadily. Ridvan Yilmaz as well, from 28th to 20th. Maybe that's the biggest jump of all, probably. But yeah, take a look at all that. Kind of fun to see the actual power rankings really take shape now. It's becoming a three-man race for sure with Orkun, Tammy, and Rafa. The question I think Ndidi is going to start pressing and making it a four-man race. We'll see if Tammy and Rafa can keep up with Orkun. Orkun's kind of running away with it right now, but not in a way where if he has a short-term injury, and Rafa has another run at it, or Tammy puts together, a couple, if he gets a hat trick and then, scores another goal or two in that same month, right? Like, you could see someone really push Orkun for that number 1 spot still, although it's not looking likely. Like, last year, it was Rafa who began to run away with it at about this point. Orkun, it's not as clear. Right, last year, like, Cheeto was dropping out because of injuries. Like, no one's dropping out, at least. Rafa is back, I believe, for Fener. So, hopefully we get a good race in that top 5 throughout the course of the season, which would mean that we've really filled out the squad and got some talent in, which we obviously needed to. Some guys to vie with Rafa for that top spot. I mean, and clearly, like Orkun, right? Like, record signing, you'd wanted to see him make that kind of contribution, so it's good to see him. If he is running away with it, it's the right kind of guy to be running away with it. But anyway, there it is. Devrim Shahin, poor guy at the bottom. Yeah, but pause, take a look at that. Again, if you're a Patreon subscriber, you'll get the sheet there. You don't have to hear me squawk for an hour and change. We're approaching that hour, so let me round up. Speaking of squawking for an hour and change. It's late night. On the eve of the Fener Derby, it's late night. I am nervous about this derby, which is partly why I even bothered doing this. I was going to put it off till maybe early next week, and I thought, no. Let me prep for the Fener match by reviewing the previous month, looking at our strengths and weaknesses going into Fener. I will say, based on the month, what I want to see the starting lineup be is Ersin in goal, Thiago and Emirhan in the back line. I'd love to see Jurasek as our left back, but I think Rıdvan's fine at this point. The Sazday on the right side. Ndidi and Orkun in the background midfield with Rafa ahead of them. I want to see Hota on the left side, Czerny on the right side, Tammy up top, and I want to see 3 points against those Canary bastards. With that said, that is it for the month of October. Let's wrap this sucker up. Probably put away my Halloween costume. But let me drop the hood one more time, just for good old fashion's sake. Peace out, everybody. Let's hope November is much better for us than October was. May the force be with us, as they say. Do I have another recommendation for you folks? Yes, of course I do. I would never let you down. I have a pop culture rec. I recently encountered an album which was dropped by a fellow named Hit Boy, produced by The Alchemist, called Goldfish. Came out on a date not very long ago, October 24th. Check it out. The Alchemist beats are so good. I was just walking home, and I mean, hip hop is always better when you're walking through the streets of New York. In general, like the rhythm of hip hop matches the city, but it's one of those albums that brought me back to like the old days a little bit, like Mobb Deep. I mean, The Alchemist made beats for Mobb Deep, so that wouldn't surprise anyone. But I mean, yeah, The Alchemist is just gold after gold after gold. What a beat maker he is. Shouts to our Patreon subscribers. By the way, we have a new member in the group chat who is Libyan. And so shouts to him. I got my Al-Musrati jersey out for that fellow. I forgot his name. Ibrahim, maybe? Whatever. Shouts to you. Shouts to Atil, who is already talking that junk about the Chicago Bulls. This is the one time of the year where they are competitive, so I'll let him have it. I am not going to talk crap, even though I feel like doing it at times, but good luck to your Bulls. Congrats on your 5-0. As for my Knicks, we're playing like shit. That's what we do. No, hopefully we'll get our season in line. Peace out, everyone. Peace out to Murder Mart and Nate Dogg and Nasty Nas and Le Financier, of course, for the contribution as always, and Mr. Positive, and to all of our other contributors. Flacco, the what do we call him again? Forgot our nickname for him. Whatever. It's late night. I'm getting ready for this fan air match. Let's go, folks. We've got a huge match tomorrow or later today, whatever the hell time it is for you. And let's beat those freaking Canaries, man. Eagles are much cooler birds than canaries. What the hell even is that mascot? Peace out, everyone.